Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of B&A Panorama Podcast, episode number 11. Today we have a very special guest on, my old high school wrestling partner and nationally ranked wrestler at NDSU heavyweight, I should add, Brandon Metz.
Heavyweight, that was important to you?
Heavyweight's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. I know, it's the big heavyweight in town.
Literally.
As a former heavyweight, well, I'm a heavyweight, but no longer wrestling. It's a big deal to be a heavyweight wrestler.
It's true.
I think only heavyweights appreciate heavyweights.
I can't relate to
because we can eat food. No other.
Well, they just have they just have a more of appreciation for the weight. Everyone else kind of hates them, to be honest.
Yeah. Really?
I always say there's kind of like people look at heavyweights, they just don't like them.
They're jealous.
I don't know if they're jealous.
Built different.
It's just like football. Like people just look at linemen differently. Like, yeah, it's really similar.
Speaking of built different, how do you go out of Metz mode like after a match? Like, are you still like you're on like cocaine or something like after like the match? Like, is that how it feels afterwards, or like how do you?
Honestly,
I don't know how you hone that in.
I don't know. I don't want to say I lost it, or the more I've grown in the sport, that kind of like phase has kind of gone away a little bit in my life. But I think I need to bring it back.
Oh, Metz mode, we gotta get it going.
Our regular season just wrapped up, and we have conference and nationals left, and I think that's sort of thing that I need to probably push myself to the top. Not cocaine. I know you said cocaine, like just the.
Start stiffing.
I don't want to mess with the viewers,
yeah,
but
you're not doing a bump before a match.
No, they're talking. Metz mode is kind of like a mindset that our persona people have kind of given me, and like in athletics, which is cool to have, and it's funny, and I like it. I like what it brings with it. It kind of brings like an added pressure, like he's got to freaking go. He's got to bring it every time. And you know what? I think I do need to bring a little bit of that back. I was talking to my dad yesterday about how the season's gone, and he thinks I'm just missing a little bit of that edge. We were talking about, this is random. He's like, you need to watch Rocky 3. He's like, you gotta watch Rocky 3 and see how Rocky goes down and how his fall and rise again. And I'm like, I did end up renting it.
Did you run up the stairs of the shack? And
no, we'll see.
Like this.
Good movie though.
It is a good movie.
Good movie. No, I remember in high school, before wrestling matches, when I was unattached still and you were the starter. Before a match, you'd have your headphones on, and you'd be pacing back and forth. And I went to give you a high five one time, and you walked through me. Like you didn't even see me or anyone else. You walked right through me and almost knocked me over. And you slapped someone's hands, took your shirt off, getting ready to wrestle. And then about 5 minutes after the match, you still were kind of in that zone, sitting there ready to kill someone, rip their freaking head off, you know what I mean? And so it's definitely when you go into it, getting out of it, it's a little bit of a process. And I feel that, during football especially, you kind of have to turn into a killer for a little bit there. But then when you jump out of it,
oh yeah, it's
the adrenaline dump.
They say it's a controlled fight. You're in the circle with another guy, and it's basically fighting minus punching and using weapons, but
it's tribalistic,
you're trying to take another man out, and he's trying to stop you from achieving your goal, and you're trying to stop him from achieving his goal, and that's personal.
Yeah,
it's nothing it's not that you have anything against him, but it's at the end of the day, he's trying to stop you from getting what you want, and you're trying to stop him from getting what he wants, and that's just it's a battle, and that's kind of the beauty of combat sports. And also what sucks about combat sports is you got to be on your game every single time, or you're gonna get knocked the hell out.
Yeah. Speaking of getting knocked out, I remember, didn't you knock a kid out one time? You went to go for a blast double, and he put his head down in your chest. You literally just hit him.
When was this?
Dropped in high school, your junior year, my sophomore year, or something like that.
I know one of the Fargo finals, I was down to a guy with 30 seconds left, and I just went for kind of a throw attempt, and his his head bounced off the side of my skull, and he went out cold. And I'm pretty sure I was concussed, because the next thing I know, we were at the award stand, and Joe Deutsch, a professor in DSU, he was like working. He came out to me and he's like, yeah, you won. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea I had just won a national title, and I was out of it, because we hit so hard. This dude went out cold. He bounced off me, and I had no idea I had won. And I was like, really? And I'm like,
so how did that work when he got knocked out cold?
So he went out, and then I covered him. It was like really fast, so it didn't look like maybe I would have ended up on top, like in the move. I don't know. Like, I can't say or not. I have no idea. But just it was just really fast, and that was more like one of the weirder ways to win a match, to be honest.
End up killing a man.
Knock a guy out. Yeah.
It was a great story. The guy was. I was like 15, 16, just kind of soft, 220 pounds, and this guy was full grown man, pretty much. At that time.
Still though.
Yeah, that was.
But like, that's what I'm wondering. Like, even for like you guys as college athletes, like how, like, does that affect you, that mode? Like, do you notice it in regular, just everyday conversation? Like, do you feel more aggressive, or do you, just like internally?
I don't think so. I think as soon as I'm leaving the practice room or like the competition arena, you're like, I'm ready to go into like regular everyday mode. I'm not like thinking about taking a dude's head off.
You don't feel like jacked up though? Like,
no, I don't think it lasts that long for me.
That's impressive.
There's so much like built up tension like in the fight that like it kind of wears off. It's kind of like a big adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess for me, during wrestling season, I know, like what you're saying, where you kind of have that adrenaline dump where you're going balls to the wall for, however long it is, and then by the time you're done, you're just absolutely exhausted, and your brain is just kind of ready to shut off and go back to normal. But for me right now, with football, we haven't had a game in a year and a half, just about, and so right now, going day-to-day stuff, it's kind of hard to turn that off every single day, because you kind of need to keep it like throughout every single day life. You need to keep that same energy and kind of passion. And so when I'm doing something, if something's frustrating me, I'm just like, you focus in and just like get something done. Or maybe something's upsetting you, you're about to hit a lift, especially me when I'm about to hit a lift, I like really get in the zone like you would during a game, and then you have to try to shut it off right after. But I don't know, I'm kind of curious to see for you, I guess, after you're done with your career wrestling, every day-to-day life, like, you can't really go Metz mode, like sitting at a desk, or maybe you're working a job and someone says something to you and you're like, just ready to tear their head off, like, in the business, in a suit, you're like right there on the spot, ready to take their head off.
I'd say I'm a pretty calm, collected guy. I've definitely thought about post-athletics, I'm going to have to find a hobby or something that takes up my time. Well, obviously I'll have work, but I don't think I'll have that anger to take someone's head off. I hope not. That would be probably be looking for another job if I do something like that.
Your boss has to be careful the way they're talking to you. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting on a stretcher.
It's a lot of time that you guys spend into this athletics, though. Like, what is your day-to-day life, or like, what does your normal day look like? Let's say Monday through Friday.
For me, we usually lift about 3 to 4 times a week, and that's about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And then sometimes we have a conditioning before that we do, and that's about 3 or 4 days a week, or about 6:30 in the morning. And then I usually have a little bit of work. I'm currently in an internship, and I go to that, and then we have a practice 4 or 5 times a week at 3 o'clock. One of the days is a one-on-one day, so that's more of just me and one of my coaches get together, and we work specifically on like stuff we want to work on for me and look at. And I really like that day because I like being able to slow it down. As far as schoolwork goes, in my first 3 years of school, it was basically morning run, morning lift, go to classes all day, and then go to practice, and then that evening eat, hang out a little bit, go to sleep,
So
repeat.
there's like no time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're, I'd say the season, like when you're in the actual season, which most are like 4 or 5 months, I would say. Most athletic seasons are like 4 or 5 months. And when you're in it, you really don't have much downtime other than maybe the off weekends.
Yeah. Let me just go back to that question that I asked with like you guys going like in and out of mode. Like I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, both of you two in season are definitely different people. You might not even notice it. You're just like in a zone. So that's why I was asking to see like you don't even notice it. You guys just like go into like beast mode because like you're throwing grown men, and it's like there is no like half in, like half out. It's either like you're going in like and you're gonna freaking take somebody down and kill them, or you're gonna be the one like the aggressor, or like be the one getting taken down. So
I mean, it's like going to war, kind of.
yeah, that's what I mean.
You don't turn it off until the battle's over, because if you're in the middle of a season, I guess that mindset of like, I need to make sure I'm at my peak performance to win anything I do and beat out anyone that I possibly go against. You got to kind of keep that mentality the entire time throughout the season. And I guess when the season's off, it's more of a growth period and kind of honing those skills in a little bit more. Like for football, we work drills 3 days a week, if not more. And we're always trying to get stronger and stuff. But in season, it's less about the growth and progression of yourself. It's more so honing in those skills that you already have to do the best that you can at that exact moment. So I guess like anything you're doing, you're not really like learning anything new at that point in time. You're just kind of taking everything you already have and just dialing it up to 1,000, and you're just super energetic and ready to kill someone. And I don't know, I guess I personally don't think I act a whole lot different during the season. But like you said, we don't notice it because
it's day to day for you guys.
Yeah, like every day we wake up, we're getting, strength coaches on our butts, making sure we're doing the best, and coaches are getting the best out of us. And speaking from football's point of view, I guess, I feel like it's a little bit more relaxed because you have your whole team to back you up on the field.
Yeah.
But when I wrestled, and I feel like you can kind of talk about this more, like you're very vulnerable on the field, or on the mat, I should say, because it's just you. You have your team, but they're not able to help you when you're wrestling. Like you are completely in a singlet, everything's out there. You're flexing your muscles for everyone to see. But if you lose, everyone out there sees just you lose. But if you win, it's your own fault. I mean, your own victory, I should say, in any sense of the word. Because if you win, no one else really helped you get there during that time period. You went out there and got it yourself while you were wrestling. So I don't know, man. Like turning it off and on, and in season, it's just sort of like the mentality of I can't lose, otherwise it's like a failure of what you've been doing the last 8 months of your year. So those 4 months, you're going to have it 100%.
Well, I always wonder with college athletes that don't go pro, like you guys got to find like life after the sport, and you definitely identify as an athlete. So when that's gone, it's just like there's a void, I would say, right? I mean, I don't feel like a lot of people talk about that. And, I don't know how much they prepare you guys for like post sports, but speaking from personal experience, it's really weird. I need a game day. This is why I enjoy this podcast. This is my game day. Like I look forward to this every week. So this is my way to get that adrenaline that I used to have. But I just wonder what do they do to prepare you guys for that stuff? I'll start with Metz.
I would say NDSU Athletics does a good job. We have athletic academic advisors upstairs, and a credit that we can achieve each semester. It's called an athletic credit, and to achieve the credit, you have to be obviously involved in a sport at North Dakota State, and then the second part of it is they try to hone a few different real life opportunities or skills, whether that be I remember there was a class on taxes and how to do your taxes, and there was another class on one of the requirements for me last year for my athletic credit was to go to a career fair. So I went to a career fair and just talked to we had to talk to different businesses, and so that's the way they kind of keep us accountable. And
what do you think about this? What is your personal view on this? I don't know if you actually think about that.
On what?
During season, do you think, or not even during season, I guess I should say, do you just think once this wrestling's done, like how, like you said, you know, I probably have to find a hobby. I don't know.
Yeah, like what's your life gonna look like? Like what do you expect your life to look like, really, and fill your time with? Because so much time is spent.
Like, what is my purpose?
That's what I'm saying.
beyond
Like,
athletics?
I'm gonna have to. Obviously, I still think I'll be involved in athletics to a degree. I don't know how, but like, my life won't be, because right now my life is very much revolved around my school, my athletics, and my family social life. That's kind of like what my life has come to right now. So obviously post athletics, it won't be as big of a mental strain and like priority. So I think just being able to find stuff that I find important to me would be important.
You'll have a lot more free time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you said a little bit about like the pressure of it and the stress. Do you feel like you're kind of constrained for time, and you feel like you're under a little bit of, like, under the gun a little bit, and you're stressed for getting stuff done, or you feel like you're obligated to get stuff done all the time? Like, is it stressful being an NDSU wrestler? Like, how does that work for you?
For me, I feel like it's just my weeks are like not like right now during the season. Your weeks feel so like locked in. Like I know I have to be here, here, and here at this time. So it's like I can't just go somewhere for a weekend with some buddies or girlfriend. I can't do this and that. You got to be kind of like, everything's kind of based around your wrestling and your lifting schedule. So it's like pretty much everything always comes back to that, which is that's the sacrifice you make when you choose to do that endeavor. But that's just one of the pressures. Like, you're always, everything in your day-to-day life kind of goes back to that. That's why I think it's important, like, once you leave the practice facility, to try and like turn that off a little bit, like escape it. That way you're not always locked into that. Or I think
just relax a little bit, like,
because I think you think about it too much. If you're thinking about it when you go home, when you go to bed, like, I think it just kind of ends up being too much for you. For anyone.
Yeah.
Wears down on the psyche a little bit. I guess for wrestling, for me, that's kind of what it did to me. I was stressed out. I had nightmares that I missed weigh-ins or like slept past a match.
Well, we've all had dreams that we've missed games. That's just weird.
Yeah, and it's the stress of it.
Have you had that before? You ever had a dream where you missed a game, or like you were just late to something? I get those, and I'm just like,
if
wow.
you talk about weird dreams, I used to always have this dream that I would miss a class for like months, and then I would randomly show up to the class, and the teacher, it was always like it was always in my dream, I was always at my middle school, and it was always this teacher like, yeah, you haven't been here in 2 months, and then she hands me like the stack of stuff I need to get done.
Nice.
And I was like, I like wake up and I'm like, whoa, I'm not in that class. I used to always think, I'm like, I'm legit missing this class. It would freak me out. I don't know what it was. Maybe because I got my schedule changed when I was like middle school, early high school once, like in the middle of a semester.
You must have chronic fear of missing class.
No, I think I got. I think I had like my schedule changed, and from that on, I think I was like, oh, I'm still in this class or something. Some weird up here happened, and it was a bad mix.
Yeah, dreams are weird. Dreams are really weird.
You know, it's funny you say that, because now that you just said that, it actually, like, I remembered my dream from a few days ago. Like, it's weird how you just like unlocked it or whatever. It was Veldy's class. I don't know if anyone listening knows Veldy. You know, obviously you guys do.
Mr. Veldy,
shout out. I had a dream that I hadn't been going to his class for the entire semester, and I showed up, and he's like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like, you miss everything. At least for me, I think online classes, like, I'm afraid I missed an online class assignment or haven't been doing the work for a certain class because I don't go to in person. And then you just show up to it, and it's all dumped on you in one spot. But yeah, man, no, it's weird how stuff like that works. Like, those fears kind of build up a little bit in the stress of school and wrestling and football.
Well, all the stress and time, like, this is where I personally feel, if you want to get compensated as an athlete, I feel like you should be able to. For the NCAA, they're like voting on it, but it's always just discussions and such. But I just find that interesting that all this time and effort you guys put into it, I just feel like you should have the opportunity, if you wanted to get money. So I also pointed out to Brandon, Steinhauer, there's two Brandons here, but the difference, like, if they made it where you could make money, it's not like every athlete would be making tons of money. Like, realistically, Zion Williamson, when he was at Duke, is probably a little different than Brandon Steinhauer at Northern State. Like, they didn't buy your parents a house like Zion, supposedly happened. It's like a whole different ballpark. But and I don't think necessarily you should be given houses for going to a school. But this is also the argument, because if we allow athletes to get paid, well, then they say the recruitment then isn't as fair. Because like, you could get paid more going to Duke as opposed to going to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that actually throw college sports off a little bit? I just thought about that. That was like a revelation.
So this might sound weird coming from a college athlete. I think they have to be very careful with paying athletes, because you can't have the top dog schools have way more resources than an NDSU, and I mean, we already don't have as much resources. Like, we have a lot of resources. Like, we're a very well-resourced mid-major school, but with a top tier Big Ten SEC type school, and if they can pay as much money as they want to guys, like, that will totally throw everything off. But coming next year, I believe, with the new likeness rules, I do totally 100%. I'm on board with that. Guys being able to make money off just like their name and their face and like what they do, I'm totally on board with that. But I don't know if I completely can go with the school itself being able to pay athletes like a X amount of dollars, because the NDSUs, the South Dakota States, even the Central Floridas of the world, they won't have that kind of money that an Alabama and LSU, Ohio State will be able to throw at guys. And the talent pool will just be completely, like, thrown off. It already is kind of like with the mid-major schools. What they have to focus on is they have to focus on getting guys that they think they can develop, whereas the top schools, they can already get the best guys. But now the top schools will be able to throw as much money as they want at a guy, and they'll be able to just secure them, which doesn't quite sit right with me. I think that just kind of takes out the level of play. Well, the NFL is really good because they have like the roster cap, and so it kind of seems the NFL really does seem like even if a team's 0-16 and a team's 16-0, the skill gap is still not crazy differential because they have those rules set in place with like the money. That's why I think if the NCAA is going to go that route with schools paying athletes, they got to be really calculated and careful about how they go about it. I know I'm going on a tangent here. I'm going to keep going. One thing they have right now is COA, known as cost of attendance, which is kind of like a spending cash for athletes a month. I think you get a percentage of your scholarship a month to be able to like pay for, maybe I want go to a movie. Obviously can't do that right now, but get some food, go to the gas station, grab a drink, grab a snack. I think if they could increase the COA across the board to maybe a little bit more, I think that'd be fair. Other than that, I think totally go on board with the likeness situation. But COA, I think if everyone had like the same amount, that would be probably more fair.
I just wonder, could some universities afford that?
That's another issue. I don't think every university couldn't afford COA for every single athlete.
Yeah.
But maybe the NCAA steps up.
Especially with COVID, right? It just sucks because
yeah.
there's been like some programs where they just straight up take the football program away.
It just, either way, there's money coming out of someone's pockets,
That's
which
true.
hurts anyone.
Yeah.
And no one wants to see money leaving.
Yeah.
I think the biggest change that's going to be for the good, and will actually make up for a lot of the smaller schools, like for Northern State University, for example, we don't have enough money to be paying our athletes, $5,000 stipend every semester just to go spend. So I think being able to use your likeness and get like sponsors from local businesses, I would say. Now imagine here in Fargo, if someone wanted to give you $5,000 per, at the end of a match, maybe you put on a shirt that had like Monster Energy drink or B-dubs.
That'd be sweet.
Something
I wouldn't say no to that.
Exactly. So it's like you get paid $3,000, $5,000 every single time you do that. You're being compensated very well for doing something that's using your likeness and image without necessarily the school having to step in.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of the direction that I think it needs to be solidified the most, with like the least amount of issues that are going to probably follow it.
Yeah.
Because realistically at that point it's up to the businesses or whoever wants to sponsor and begin paying the athletes for their likeness. I think that's where we're going to see the most income being kind of moved around the safest, rather than starting to pay all the athletes an X or Y amount just for showing up there. Because at that
So
point,
basically you're saying decentralize the way.
decentralize the way that the NCAA. No. Well, maybe. I don't know.
They're in a tough position. I mean, I know they get a lot of hate, and I probably hate on them too. But like, I think people need to realize like they are in control of everything. They're like overseeing a lot of athletes.
And there's a lot of
like,
factors.
There's a lot of different scenarios, and like, I remember there was that really good kicker who had a YouTube channel, and he got kind of screwed over. I don't even think they necessarily wanted to screw him over. I think it was just the rules that they had in place ended up screwing over what he was doing, and he just happened to be a downfall of like the rules that were in place. Obviously, they need to look at the special cases and make different decisions based on case by case.
Be kind of sick if you won a match and grabbed a monster and smashed it over your head and put one on.
No, that's what I'm saying. The Zion Williamsons of the world deserve to be able to go play basketball at Duke and
use their likeness
and throw on a shirt for whatever and get paid whatever. But my issue is if Alabama University's paying all these like kids a crazy amount just to go there in the first place, and then they're just locking in this talent pool that no one else can achieve, just sustaining further dominance over everyone else and even further widening the gap.
Yeah.
That, for some reason, that doesn't sit right with me. And I feel like from a fan's perspective, because like I'm a college football fan, college basketball fan, I don't want to watch 2-3 teams completely massacre like everyone. And I know that just might be the case. Some teams are just great, and they have a great base, they have great fundamentals. Their brotherhood's good. So, yeah, there's going to be special cases, but I think if they're truly owning it from a money standpoint, then it's just not fair.
It's not fun to watch. Like
No one wants to watch. That's why the NFL, I think, is so everyone likes the NFL. Like I think everyone can agree they like the NFL from a standpoint of like it's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Like MLB, like some of the different resources from the different MLB clubs is insane when you look at it. Like I'm not crazy big baseball guy, but I know enough to know like
you watch Moneyball.
Yeah.
Guy knows it all now.
No.
I know how it goes.
I know enough to know like the top tier clubs they have pretty much no chance on a year-to-year basis compared to the top tier clubs have way higher chance than the low tier clubs.
Yeah.
And they basically like they're screwing themselves. Like it's hard to see. And I think if that trickled down into college athletics, it would be because reason love college athletics is because it's real. They see passion. They see guys fighting every single play, every single down, every single break. Like guys aren't like taking plays off because they don't have a check to go home to at the end of the night. That's why they're going, and that's why people see that in college football. They can see Mike, the future accountant, playing freaking right guard. Like he doesn't know, he doesn't think he's going to the NFL, but damn, he's gonna play his last down like it's every play like his last down of football.
Because it could be.
Yeah, exactly. That's why people resonate more with that than they do with a guy who, he's going to get paid $1 million whether he makes that block or not. Like,
so what do you think about then if athletes are going to be able to start getting paid? Does that mean that scholarships, I guess they've kind of been talking about scholarships being taken away, and then your own source of income will just be your likeness? Or how would you feel about scholarships being reduced around the board then to like make room, or if they have another way to make income, they don't need to supply their athletes with scholarships? Well, I don't know, like kind of what do you think about that? Because I know a fair amount of guys who are either getting paid full ride to go to a college and want the likeness to be used, and guys who are getting paid nothing and they're still playing it for the love of the game, and they also want their likeness to be able to be used. So I don't know, like what do you kind of think about that? Like, the idea of scholarships being stripped away.
What do you think about that, huh?
What do you think about that, huh?
I really think they should be kept separate because I think there's no guarantee you're going to get a commercial deal and be on a scholarship. Like, I could be not nearly the player I was or athlete I was in high school than I am in college, but I'd still want my scholarship because I'm showing up every day, putting the work in, being a great teammate to my teammates, not necessarily a world-class athlete where I'm getting paid a sponsorship. That's why I think they should keep scholarships and that separate because no one's guaranteed. They're not. Think about how many college athletes there are. They're not all going to get commercials. They're not all going to get Monster Energy deals.
That's what I'm saying. I just think
there's not enough. Yeah. There's not enough of the pie to go around. Like, they have to keep what it is. But I think the name and likeness is a great start.
Wow. This is a good open discussion. We don't hear too much of this with, like, it just feels like with the NCAA, it's either, they get the scholarship, like, more than they need, or it's either, each college should be able to pay people. Well, it's like, maybe we should meet somewhere in the middle here because I think there's good things from both sides.
The scholarship is great. Don't get me wrong. But some of these people are being shorted on so many different fronts. Not myself, but these athletes who are, like, crazy, like, in the limelight. Like, they're
Even
being...
you could monetize Metz mode locally. Come on now. I feel like a West Fargo bar.
I'm mostly talking about, like, the Zions of the world when they were in school. Like, these people, when they're walking to class, everyone's got their phone.
They're not walking to class too often.
Okay, but you know what I mean. Like, those guys, like, if you can't walk around without getting people, like, shining a phone in your face and you're not getting paid for it,
and then
that's messed up.
They sell the jersey with the number. And it's
like, if you can't walk around without getting a phone, people putting a camera in your face, you probably should be getting paid for it. Mm-hmm. That I think that to me is kind of like an easy line.
You're like the 1% of people at that point. Then.
Yeah, but like, think about it. Those people weren't getting paid.
I know.
They still aren't. They still aren't getting paid.
But here's the thing: they weren't getting paid, but they were getting like houses and stuff like. And this is what happens when things become illegal, and it's like black market stuff instead.
Well, let's say. Because I have no idea about the Zions. Let's say Zion Williamson. We're talking about him a lot, by the way.
Yeah, no,
he's a beast.
Really
But let's say Zion Williamson was completely following the rules, because I have no reason to believe otherwise. He was getting his money from the school, his cost of attendance. He was living in a student apartment or student dorm housing, and he was following all the rules, going to class, and he was, let's be honest, he was probably one of the biggest athletes that year. In the whole, like, United States. He was one of the biggest athletes. Let's say he gets a career-ending injury right when he gets right after his college career. He wouldn't be getting any of that money. He wouldn't have seen a cent.
He wouldn't have got compensated.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just he would have got none of that future earnings.
Well, that's where some players are opting out of bowl games. What do you think about that?
Bowl games? So those people... They're seeing, like, kind of like the draft as their, like, that's their moneymaker. And honestly, I can't look at them differently for doing that. Because they're protecting their brand. They're protecting their career.
Yeah.
They're not getting paid to go play that bowl game. Well, maybe if they go to the bowl game and play absolutely lights out. I think the difference between me and them is I would be thinking, hey, if I go crazy in this bowl game, I could put my draft stock up. Whereas some of the guys are thinking, why would I play in this Mayo Bowl, this Heinz Ketchup Bowl? Why would I go play in this where I can get hurt and completely ruin my draft stock? I mean, it depends on the guy. I'm thinking, hey, I'm gonna go there and make a couple plays, and I'm gonna move however far. But
you could be like Jalen Smith, and he tore his knee up and fell down to round 3 to the Cowboys. It's crazy. That's a lot of money too.
Yeah.
First round to third is huge.
And like football is different. Football, you get hurt almost every single play. There's an opportunity to get hurt, and that's why I can't blame athletes at all for deciding to, like, sit in those instances because they're not getting paid in college.
Which is why I got a lot of respect for the guys that do play it and go out. It's like, wow, that is a lot of money you're putting on.
Well, you got to think they're playing with their brothers. Like, These are guys they've been with 2, 3, 4 years. They've been surrounded by every day. Like, you don't, for them, guys don't want to leave them hanging.
It's like
unless
a character
it's,
thing, yeah.
But again, at the end of the day, it's a business. And, like, this is me trying to, like, provide for myself and my future families. And that's what they're thinking when they're like, yo, I don't want to risk playing this bowl game when I know
Generational
I could.
wealth.
Yeah, that's what they're thinking about. Most of those college athletes are, what are they? First generation college students.
Mm-hmm.
How many? I don't have the percentages in front of me, but I know there's a great amount of like top tier college athletes that are first generation college students that are in a position to change their families for a while.
Yeah, there's no need to risk it for the biscuit, basically. I mean, if you're going to make $10 million guaranteed, why would you ever risk going there and losing all that money that could literally change your life and your family's life forever? There's absolutely no reason to go play, except for the passion of the game, of course.
Yeah, it's like a character thing.
But at a certain point, too, I feel like there's a lot of guys who have seen everything their family has sacrificed and done for them to say that, oh, I'm going to go play because I love the game. Yeah, I mean, they obviously do love the game and they probably wanted to play. I'm assuming that most of these guys do want to play, but at a certain point, they're like, I've already made it. My draft stock isn't going to go down, or it's not going to go up from this game. It's only going to stay the same or go down. There's no point in me risking it and going out there. After everything that I've sacrificed and my family has sacrificed, going in and risking it in this one game that will do nothing for me there's nothing to gain from it besides the experience of playing it and the passion of it. But at that point, they know that they have a career in the future, and there's really no point because they're going to be able to play in the future and secure the bag for their family and themselves.
And it's not like these guys are dropping out of the national title game. No one's doing that. These guys are dropping out of games that their team's already secured their fate, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no chance to, like, win a national championship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, at that point, I'm like, they're doing what's best for them. And, you can't knock a guy for doing what they think is best for them. I'll never really fault someone for that.
It's just business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on a lighter note here, I was just thinking this. We were talking before about, what if this was all just a simulation? Yeah, like, imagine, like...
Oh, man.
Okay. Just for, like, wrestling, though, or, like, football, like... If
she
it really
was
was
listening
a
on my
simulation,
phone.
yeah.
I'm kidding.
If this really was a simulation, like, who decided, like, let's just play, like, sports or, like, even back in Roman with the Coliseum? Like, like...
So you want me to think of this as a simulation?
Just imagine, like, it's like the Rick and Morty episode where it is a simulation. And he lives a whole life. Yeah, he lives a whole life, and then he comes out of it, and he's like, this doesn't feel real. Like, it's all consciousness.
He's like, who am I? Where's my kids?
I just think it's funny because, like, if this was a simulation, then sports would be absolutely hilarious. So
if this was a simulation, I would say the creator or creators are very, 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 very specific because
that's what I mean.
They would have it down to where I'm going to bed, I'm grabbing this blanket, that I'm setting my drink here now, and think about it. Every little thing you do, that's what the simulation would be playing out.
Well, Elon Musk said that if this was a simulation, then like their life must be boring if they created this. Yeah, so
yeah. I mean, I feel like if this is all a simulation, sports and other forms of giant entertainment like the Coliseum,
it's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but then you could also say that it's distracting the people of the world from like focusing on the other things. Like, is this a simulation? They're too busy watching Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
How are you going to worry about it if the world's a simulation if you're watching football? No, hopefully. Didn't Elon Musk say there's like a 99% chance this is a simulation? He's like, the odds that everything has went the way it is and the way physics work, that it has to be a simulation most likely. I mean, that's crazy to say.
I just feel like when you start thinking like that takes like free will and like my everyday like thinking out of it, because I could just, it's the same thing in the Bible and Christianity where it's like, is everything predetermined law like through God? Depends if that's what you believe in. That's my faith. But
a lot of people say you still have the free will though.
Yeah, you have the free will, but at the same time, is it predetermined? Everyone, that's been a great debate for years, and I feel like that's the same thing as saying something's a simulation. It's just
Well,
I personally don't have the knowledge to make that call.
No, I know.
And I would never.
there's
I'm not going to.
There's no real answer to, are we in a simulation?
Yeah. I'm not going to make that call. I don't want to be that guy that's, yeah, we're in one. Or, no way, man. Like, as soon as I say we're not, a week from now, there's going to be some Twitter thread about, new study finds we're in a freaking simulation.
That's why he's not
And I'd be
gonna
like,
answer. He doesn't wanna be
yeah,
embarrassed.
that's stupid. I'm going to feel like an idiot. I feel like one way or another, I'm going to feel like an idiot. So maybe I should just give a random statement. I'm kidding.
Well, that was a good way to end today's episode. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It
Hey,
was fun.
Next time we bring you on, we'll all be 21, so we can have a glass of whiskey next time. How about that?
Jeez. Lighten the mood a little bit here.
Yeah. Well,
It was pretty late. Never
No,
mind.
it was pretty lighthearted. But anyways, thank you for tuning in. We have our sweatshirts. New sweatshirt design. If you saw it on our social medias, that'll be a one-time order. So limited edition sweatshirts.
Yeah.
I will post it on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at BA Panorama Pod. If you're still listening now, thank you. This is quite the experience.
You made it. You rode the wave.
Yeah. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in to episode 11, and we'll catch you on the next one on episode 12. Be great and be built different.